So to summarize that whole thing, I think not going to school for music was the best decision I've made in my entire life, because I avoided, getting $200,000 in debt. I ended up graduating from school with a master's degree with $0 in debt. I still do music, and I have a great job. Hey everyone, this is Andrew. In this video I have a somewhat controversial topic to talk to you about today, and it's should you go to music school? By that I mean music college or not. So before I dive into the why you should or why not, I'll just give you my backstory, I guess. So I'm 27 now, just to give you kind of a perspective of my life. But I was in high school, 9 years ago now, wow. And I was about to graduate, so I was 18. And I had applied to Berklee School of Music, did the audition for guitar, and the goal was to go for sound recording or audio engineering, whatever they called it, their program. So you had to apply for like a general admission, and then later on you transition to audio engineering. So I did the audition for guitar, and I got accepted, which was awesome. That was like a huge life milestone at the time. And I got an email, like my own email address, andrewsouthworth@berklee.com, which was sweet. And I was like all ready to start like registering. And then they sent over the bill, and I already knew what it was at the time, but you don't really realize how much it is until you see the bill. And you have to pay a certain amount of it or get loans before you can register for classes. So I got that, and then it was like, this is too much. It was like $55,000 a year or something like that. And that's not even staying there. So I don't come from like an overly rich family that could pay for it, and I didn't get a scholarship, so it would have been the full cost in loans. So think about that times 4 years. If it takes 4 years, that's over $200,000 in debt by the time you graduate for a music degree, which, looking at audio engineering field, you can make a lot, but the average starting pay is like 30 grand a year, which you can make, working at Starbucks. And nothing against working at Starbucks. I worked there for 5.5 years while I was going through college. But it's not a good life plan, getting $200,000 in debt and then getting a job that pays the same as not going to school in the first place. So I didn't go. So I took 6 months off to decide what I wanted to do, and I started getting into like NASA videos and stuff. So I really got into astronomy, and I wanted to do aerospace engineering because I was really into that. And then, eventually I realized I don't really know what kind of engineering I want to do. So I went to community college, took some gen eds, ended up picking just a broad engineering, got my associate's degree there, and then I decided to pick mechanical engineering because that was the closest to aerospace that was offered at the local university. And so long story short, I ended up with a bachelor's in mechanical engineering. Now I have a master's degree in mechanical engineering. So to summarize that whole thing, I think not going to school for music was the best decision I've made in my entire life, because I avoided, getting $200,000 in debt. I ended up graduating from school with a master's degree with $0 in debt. I still do music, and I have a great job. So, I think if you're, 17, 18, you're thinking about going to school for music, I think in like almost every single case, the answer to the question of should you go to school for music is absolutely no. And because there's not, depending on what you're doing and depending on if you're some like child prodigy or something, there's not going to be much there that you can learn that you won't learn elsewhere. And you hear it a lot of times people say, well, the best thing you get going to a school like Berklee is the connections that you make, which may be true, but why can't you make them on your own, especially for like, it might be if in the orchestral world more necessary to go to school that specializes in orchestral music, because that's a whole different world, and it's very competitive, and etc., and that might be the only way in. But very small percentage of people actually make their way to that. So I don't want to come off as too preachy, but if I were to give you, person watching this between like 16, 19 years old, probably deciding of, should I go to school for music, just think about the cost versus reward. You very well might graduate with $200,000 in debt, with a job in retail, and literally nothing to show for it aside from a very, very expensive degree that you can't get a job with. So what I would recommend is think about something else that you're passionate about. It's not like just because we're musicians, we like to think like, oh, we have this big dream to be a musician, and that's the only thing that we can do with our lives, right? You can only have one dream. There's a lot of things we all love. Every musician has a side hobby that's not music. And so I would look into other things you're interested in that also have a good job market. In my case, it was engineering. It could also be another science field. It could even be business or something. That's a little harder to get a higher paying job in because a lot more people go for it. But business can be a great career. Marketing, whatever. If you want to go to trade school, you can get involved in a trade, and that's a whole different thing. You can make a lot of money being in a trade. But the point is, think about something else that you're interested in, and go to school for that, and then do music while you're going to school for that. And then when you graduate, use the money you make from that to fund your music. That's my long-winded 2 cents about that. Now, if you disagree with me, let me know in the comments so we can hash it out there. But I think for almost every single person watching this video, if you're thinking about going to school for music, just don't do it. In hindsight, it was the best decision I made in my life to not go to school for music. So, yeah, that's my story. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.